Feeling kind of left out at work on Monday morning? Check out The Barf, breaking news, acquisitions, research, and funding. It's a look back at the week that was so you can prepare for the week that is. Subscribe on your favorite podcast app.
Welcome to PeopleTech, the podcast of WorkforceAI.news. I'm Mark Pfeffer. Today I chat with Brett Coyne, the Chief Transformation Officer at Findem. They use AI to automate and consolidate what goes on at the top of the talent acquisition funnel. We're going to talk about AI and how it fits into talent acquisition, changing perceptions about it, and the dynamics of vendors and users, all on this edition of PeopleTech. Hi, Brett. What's going on out there in terms of AI and talent acquisition technology? Are things still as nutty as they were, say, a year ago? Or was the whole question about AI and having to deal with AI settling down?
I think it depends on who you ask. It felt like a year ago. AI wasn't a new concept at all. It just seemed to really come to the surface. But it does seem like there's a lot more fear and lack of understanding a year ago. It does feel like right now people are starting to get a little bit of a handle on it. It's not taking people's jobs. That was maybe the year ago perception. It can really help enhance if you let it. And I think we go from there, right? So it still feels like there's a lot of ambiguity and lack of understanding, but it does feel like things are a little more calm and there's a little better understanding than there was a year ago.
Can you talk a little bit about the pressure that both sides are under, meaning the customers are feeling pressure to do the right thing with AI. Vendors like Findem are under pressure to provide the right things using AI. How is that balancing out?
That's a good question. My experience in talent acquisition is often the vendors are ahead of the users. So people building products tend to not be talent acquisition people, and they find needs or niche in the market and they build, and then sometimes it's ahead of its time, and it feels like that's where we are. From a feeling pressure perspective, the way I would answer that question is some people are feeling pressure, some are not. I think with AI the advantage of now being practitioner for a long time, moving to a vendor job, what's fun is I get to talk to all these practitioners. I think the normal third rule applies here. There's a third that are early adopters. They're putting pressure on themselves because they want to be ahead of the curve, innovative leaders. There's the middle pack, a third who, there's maybe some pressure coming from the company. Can you be implementing AI to drive productivity gains and efficiency? And I think what's really behind that question from CFOs, for example, is can you reduce your headcount and do more with less? That's kind of where the conversation goes. And I can see those leaders are actually feeling the pressure. And then the third, I'd say they're not there yet. And the company's not putting pressure on them. They're not putting pressure on themselves. They're taking a wait and see. On the vendor side, it's pressure to help vendors gain a deep understanding of where, how, and when to use AI, and really measuring and showing ROI that by adopting AI in certain areas of a workflow, for example, that it really is saving time. And it's really helping the recruiter or the sourcers, it's improving the life of the customer. It feels like we're still at the beginning stages of that. There are certainly some proof of concepts and some customers who have really adopted and said, wow, I feel it. I can definitely, we had one last week where I am now with a customer who said something that we've implemented for them it's led to a drastic reduction in time spent doing a historically very menial task.
Hey, it's Bob Pulver, host of You Podcast. Human-centric AI, AI-driven transformation, hiring for skills and potential, dynamic workforce ecosystems, responsible innovation. These are some of the themes my expert guests and I chat about, and we certainly geek out on the details. Nothing too technical. I hope you check it out.
If you like swiping, then head over to Substack and search up Work Defined. WRK Defined, and subscribe to the weekly newsletter.
It feels like also this is happening in a sort of more business-like environment where the vendors and the customers are having a different kind of conversation that's not so geared toward pushing ahead, but to figuring out the right solution. Am I right on that?
I think that's right. I think the vendors are always pushing a little harder. One of the things I've noticed, like I said, the concept of AI has been around a long time. I was at Intuit forever, and back in 2016, 17, we were testing machine learning and AI tools to do things. Nowhere near where they are today, but the vendors are always in more of a rush, it feels like.
Yep.
Because the point I was going to make was we live, sleep, breathe AI every day. If you're working in a technology vendor that's AI first. So I think my understanding of it accelerated greatly coming here as opposed to being on the practitioner side.
Mm-hmm.
Where on the practitioner side, I think it's more they're going to move at the pace they want and need to move to make sure they're doing the right things for themselves. And then also, depending on the industry you're in, if you're in banking versus tech or manufacturing or financial services, tends to be more compliance and regulation. And so, sometimes there might be a desire to move faster and you just can't, as a practitioner.
Now, thinking also about the work of the vendor, it felt to me when I was watching, it must have been really kind of crazy trying to build new products amid all the hype that's going on. Is that true? I mean, I sense that some people were getting caught up in a dynamic where they were trying to build the latest and greatest thing, but the definition of latest and greatest was changing, by the hour almost. How does a company like Findem deal with that?
So I would say there's two things going on to your point. The first one is there are a lot of companies trying to build the latest and greatest, and so that can create confusion for customers. Hey, what is the greatest and latest? How do I know it works? I think what's different about Findem, and one of the great things about being on the practitioner side for so long and then coming here, and how I look at the problem and some of the practitioners I've hired relative to, say, a vendor who's never worked on the other side, is latest and greatest is going to be defined by the customer. Mm-hmm. And so really getting deeply knowledgeable about what are the problems that the customer is trying to solve, right? More often than not, they're trying to save time, they're trying to save money, they're trying to become more productive, and they want a great experience. Those are the four things that I've clearly landed on that the customers are looking for. So I think what's going to differentiate vendors are those who spend a lot of time listening and asking questions and solving the problems that are most important to the customer. And that will be defined by the customer as what is the latest and greatest versus those who go off and build what they think it is. And then, the customer gets their hands on it.
Now, one of the messages that comes out loud and clear in the market for AI is that this is going to increase your efficiency. It's going to increase your productivity. That's what everybody talks about. But is that really it? Are there other things that AI and generative AI are going to do besides just save time?
So I do, and I'll answer the save time though first, because I think that is a really important, again, back to vendors telling the customer how they're going to save time versus the customers fitting AI solutions into how they're working day to day and finding opportunities in their workflow. I think this is something we're working really hard to do. It's like we have to find ways as vendors to align to how people are used to doing their job and look for opportunities within where they spend time to add a layer of AI that is actually going to benefit them. I'll give you a perfect example. I spent a lot of years as a recruiter logging into my applicant tracking system, and I get 300, 400, 500. I'm seeing customers and friends of mine saying that they're getting 1,500 applicants per rec. Mm-hmm. Going through them one at a time, application review. AI can do, you run your search, apply it against the inbound applicants, rank scores and filters in about a second. So saving you a lot of time. Where I think it will do things other than where I'm already seeing it doing things for people, aside from just saving time, is up-leveling your ability to move quickly with a lot more information. So consolidation of information and having AI and generative AI help summarize, answer questions, take a person's profile, match it to the job description. Hey, write me a summary why this person is a good fit. Another example, recruiters and sourcers spend a lot of time typing up emails to attach a resume and send it to a hiring manager. A lot of the technology that we have, for example, can do that in a second.
Right.
And so it is saving money, but it's also up-leveling the insights that you might be providing to the manager, the amount of information that the AI can process and help you summarize and put thoughts essentially together, and send it off. Analyzing data. I have found, in my career as a practitioner, understanding data and being able to tell a story is something you have to learn, and there's an art to it. Some people are really good at it, some people are not. When it comes to talent analytics and metrics and reporting, having, for example, generative AI that can interpret the data and tell a compelling story to help influence where people may spend their time or what their focus should be to get a different outcome. That's up-leveling, the recruiter, giving them an advantage in terms of, let's say you have a recruiter or a recruiting director and they're not used to or haven't really been taught how to interpret the right data. If you can apply generative AI and ask the right questions to that data set and get really good summary answers, you're essentially teaching yourself how to analyze data, interpret it, tell the story, and you're up-leveling yourself. And so you're growing, in your role. And you don't need someone to teach you how to do that. And I've seen this play out here. So it's pretty interesting.
Well, Brett, thanks so much. It's really interesting talking with you. I hope you'll come back and do it again.
Thanks for having me.
Sure. My guest today has been Brett Coyne, the Chief Transformation Officer at Findem. And this has been PeopleTech, the podcast of WorkforceAI.news. We're a part of the Work Defined Podcast Network. Find them at www.wrkdefined.com. And to keep up with AI technology and HR, subscribe to Workforce AI today. We're the most trusted source of news in the HR tech industry. Find us at www.workforceai.news. I'm Mark Pfeffer.
I get it. The podcast just isn't enough. That's all right. Head over to your favorite social app, search up Work Defined, WRK Defined, and connect with us.